Top 10 Haunted Places in Delaware. Fort Delaware State Park. Deeded to the federal gov in 1813. Fort was completed in 1859. Prisoner of war camp during the Civil War. Held as many as 12,595 prisoners. Deeded back to Delaware and then became a state park in 1951. The kitchen is the most haunted area. It is believed to be haunted by the ghost of a slave woman who served as a cook. The area immediately around the stove is the coldest area. Kitchen utensils and other tools in the area move around by an unseen hand. An officer's portrait in the main hall turns into a skull if you stare at it long enough. A 9-year-old Confederate drummer boy attempted to fake his own death in order to escape the prison and be transported across the river in a coffin. While waiting on this transportation, a shift change swapped personnel, and instead of being freed, he was buried alive. Confederate Brigadier General James Archer arrived at featuring Delaware very ill. He was imprisoned for organizing a prisoner uprising. He was thrown in the dungeon as punishment. He died of his imprisonment and illness shortly after being freed in a prisoner exchange. Archer was a bearded man in a gray uniform, and his spirit can be seen moving around the powder magazine and dungeon area. Stone staircases within the building have spirits that touch your arms and back. They also make noises which include footsteps and yelling. Woodburn Mansion, Dover. Built by Charles Hilliard III in 1798. Charles's daughter Mary Hilliard Bates and her husband, Dr. Martin W., had bought the estate. In 1815, they were entertaining a preacher at breakfast. Mary had asked him to say lead prayer. The preacher asked if they should wait for the other guest. Confused, Mary told him there were none. The preacher described the man he passed in the staircase. He had on a powered wig, knee breeches, and a ruffled shirt. He has described and seen the ghost of Charles Hilliard III. Others have also seen the ghost of Hilliard. Some say if you leave him a full glass of wine at night, it will be gone by morning. There is also a malevolent entity that haunts the grounds of the mansion. He is believed to be a slave raider. The Woodburn Mansion was part of the Underground Railroad. It kept slaves in the cellar until night, when they would escape on boats waiting for them. The slave raiders got word that the mansion was being used as a hideout and was driven away by Hilliard. One of the slave raiders hid in a giant knot tree that was outside of the home. He slipped and his head got caught in one of the holes in the tree. He hung there until he died. People claim to see this ghost still hanging from that tree. It is also reported that he appears in a frightening form, touching people and giving them cold chills. Cape Henlopen Lighthouse, Lewis. Referred to by locals as Corpse Light and Bad Weather Witch. The first recorded shipwreck was when the captain of the Devonshire drove towards it, causing over 200 deaths in 1655. The cause of the strange happenings is believed to be because of an old Delaware Indian curse of Drum of Stone. The land under the original location of the lighthouse eroded away, causing the lighthouse to topple into the sea below. Another lighthouse was built 700 feet away in a safer direction. Ships still see the light coming from the original location, causing some shipwrecks. Rockwood Mansion, Wilmington. Built in 1851 for distinguished banker Joseph Shipley. Mary is said to haunt Rockwood. She lived there for 100 years and passed away in the mansion. Visitors often see Mary's apparition and smell her favorite perfume throughout the mansion. The Rockwood Mansion was featured on Ghost Hunters. The crew met little Eddie, who likes to hang out in the dining room. Eddie was invited to play with their electronic toy. He was showing off his playfulness by lighting up this toy. He then showed his intelligence by repeating the patterns the hunters asked him to. University of Delaware. It opened in 1834 as Newark College. The school became Delaware College in 1843 and then finally the University of Delaware in 1921. The haunted locations on campus are the Academy Building, Old College, Mitchell Hall, Smith Hall, Memorial Hall, Recitation Hall, and Christina Tower East. replaced colonial-era structure. University of Delaware acquired it in 1976. A young man who was attending the Academy of Newark during the Revolutionary War stuck off to join the Continental Forces. His father didn't like that, so he drugged the boy home. The boy hung himself in the cupola. Built in 1834. In 1858, an argument between John Edward Roach and Isaac Weaver turned deadly when Weaver stabbed Roach in the neck of a literacy contest. Weaver stumbled to the main entrance of the building where he died from his injury. Isaac Weaver was acquitted for the crime. He later died from a horrific factory accident from an injury that looked very similar to John Roach's. During renovations of the building, workers heard unexplained noises and saw shadow figures luring the empty corridors. Built in 1892 by Frank Furness. Furness was obsessed with the occult and cursed the building by incorporating occult geometry into its design. Strange accidents and deaths have been believed to be the work of the curse, but renovations in the 1990s have stopped them. Delaware College's first auditorium, and named after Samuel Chiles Mitchell, college president from 1914 to 1920. It is haunted by a workman who fell to his death from the scaffolding. Students have named him Elmo. Apparitions of a woman and 2 children have been seen, along with unexplained laughing and electrical issues. A dormitory built in the 1950s. The unoccupied 4th floor seems to be the epicenter of paranormal activity. Students believe the ghost is a female student who was attacked there in the 1970s. Students reported hearing pounding and scratching. The door to the 4th floor opens and closes on its own. 2. 17-story towers with a food court and lounge in between them. Most of the ghost activity happens in the East Tower. A male student fell to his death from the 17th floor window in 1974 and another in the 1990s. Students report electrical disturbances and the felling of being watched and followed. With the towers being too costly to operate, they have been closed and demolished. The Governor's Cafe, Dover. The building the cafe is located in was built in 1857. If you look closely at historic paintings within the cafe, you can see ghosts peeking out at you from the windows. A battle site between the Americans and the British. A British soldier was wearing armor underneath a white sheet while riding a horse. When shot at, the figure was unarmed. A sergeant aimed high and put a shot in his head and killed him. He is now a ghost that roams the bridge. On a foggy, moonless night, a British soldier is said to wander along the road near the haunted battle site. He is said to be looking for his head that a cannonball struck from his shoulders. Others say it is the ghost of American Charlie Miller, who was decapitated by a British cannonball. Lums Pond State Park. Named after John Lum, he ran a mill house. There have been reports of seeing apparitions of John and his son roaming the grounds of the park, and the sounds of a phantom water wheel can be heard. There have also been reports of hearing high-pitched and muffled screams. This is to be from a runaway girl who met her demise at the park in 1870 when she met a murderer. In 2005, John Buckhite and Dale Slaughter bought Delaware City Hotel for Crabby Dicks. Crabby Dicks is reported to be haunted by the ghost of a maid, Sandy, who died in the hotel. John slept in one of the rooms and had a vivid dream of a chambermaid telling him to leave. There have been reports of lights going on and off by themselves on the 4th floor. Built around 1765 and named after the cannonball that struck the foundation in April of 1813. It has been a restaurant, laundromat, and private home for pilots including Captain David Rowland. The Lewis Historical Society bought it in 1963. David's family member, Susan, lost her life in the house when her skirt caught fire from the hearth. One door will not stay shut, even when nailed shut. A worker left his tools on the bench at the end of the day, and when he returned, they were found placed nicely on the ground below. No one was there that evening. A key went missing from the lock of a displayed 16th-century Spanish chest. One of the workers accidentally knocked the lid shut, so everyone assumed it fell into the chest. A maintenance man that was cleaning found it underneath a coiled rope no one noticed before.